Live. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the White Van Podcast. This episode's topic is internships. The guests today have successfully completed internships, and we also have Professor Illr Dema, who has previously worked in the industry. Before we begin, we have some good news to share. The Discord server for White Van recently reached 800 members. Yay! To celebrate, the admins, two of whom are guests today, are having a giveaway for Discord Night Tier memberships. So yeah, hooray for White Van growing. Okay, let's start with introductions. We can go in the order that we appear on Jerry's stream.
Which would be Illr first.
Professor, would you like to?
So hello, I am Illr. I do teach at UTM since 2015. And I started as a sessional, then I moved on as a teaching stream faculty. Myself, I graduated in 1987. I have a degree in mathematics, in fact, and I have a master's in mathematics from University of Toronto. And for those who do not know, I'm working towards a PhD also in applied mathematics at the math department at University of Toronto. Like, my interest in computer science has started since I was effectively in high school, but at the time I did not have access to the computers. The first time that I have had access to a computer has been on my third year. And I have had access to a mainframe of second generation, with these integrated circuits did not exist at the time. I mean, they did exist, but the mainframe where I had access did not have them. So, I have gone a long way through, from that time till now. In effect, when I was a student, ideas of object-oriented programming were just novel. Object-oriented programming became a reality in 1987, and the year that I'm talking about is 1985. Myself, I graduated in 1987, and since then I have worked only in computers. Initially in my country, in Albania, it's a small country in Eastern Europe, and then since 1999 till 2015, I have worked in Toronto, and then certainly I joined UofT.
That's awesome. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah. So I am Jared. I go by Jerry on Discord because Starbucks baristas always write my name wrong. I'm going into fourth year. I finished a internship at City this summer, and I have just started my next one through PEY at a startup called WaterHub. Yeah, pretty excited for this podcast. Jared's volume. Okay, I'll turn that up. Thank you. All right, John, you're up.
All right, I'm John. I go by John on the Discord. I'm heading into my final year, and I just finished my internship as a UX designer at CIBC.
Wow, that's impressive.
Lucas, how about you?
Oh, see, I thought you wanted to introduce yourself, but,
I can go last.
Oh, okay. I'm Lukasz. I go by what looks like a panda on Discord now. I guess a brief history of me. I'm going into my fourth year. I'm finishing my PUI as a GPU virtualization engineer at AMD. I've previously had positions at the CS Education Group at UofT. I also worked for the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, contracted to the Ministry of the Attorney General as a full stack developer. And then before that, in first year, I was a summer research student at the Autonomous Systems and Biomechatronics Research Lab downtown for the Industrial Engineering Department. I'm excited to talk with everyone, see what you guys have questions about. And oh, there she is.
You scared off Orange.
Yeah, I know.
This is the very first time we've had a technical difficulty, and this is our fourth time doing it, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. How about I read off of the guide? Let's see. Oh, Orange is back.
Well, maybe.
Hello?
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened there. So we have some really
talented people here today who are really experienced. I'm your host, Orange, and we can get started. So to begin with, we have a carryover question from last week. For the students, the carryover question is, what was your least favorite project that you worked on? And then for Lear, the carryover question is, what was your least favorite course to teach? And Michael wanted to say that this question was specifically from him. So we look forward to hearing your answers.
Okay, so it might come as a surprise, but my least favorite course that I have ever taught has been Math 136. Sorry. It shouldn't come from the mouth of a mathematician, but yeah.
Why?
Because I did not actually like the way how the course was structured, and there is very little proof element in this course. The way that I have been educated throughout school and throughout my whole life, even we have started proofs in grade 6 in grade school. So I don't know, I cannot understand mathematics without proof. And that course is just based on computations. You just go and endlessly compute derivatives, compute integrals. I don't know, things that can be very easily automated. And I believe students should be taught, how to actually use a software package to do these things, and rather do problem solving rather than compute integrals. I don't know, there is a better way to use our brains. Hence, I didn't like the course. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I could take next.
Least favorite project.
Least favorite project?
Sorry.
Oh geez. Probably something towards the latter end of 209. Just because I was kind of out of my element there, but I think now I would be okay since I took 369 and did pretty well in that.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll go next. I don't really have a project that I did not like, not that I could remember. But one course I didn't really entirely like was
CSC301.
one. No.
Jonathan would never say
CSC301.
that.
I would never say
Which
that.
one? Which one?
I think Stats 256 for me. Only because I didn't really have a great time in that course, and I don't want to get into too much details for profit-related reasons. That's all I'm gonna say.
Fair enough. It's a hard course. Okay, Lucas, how
That
about you?
too. Let's just use that excuse.
My least favorite project, unfortunately, gonna have to be from 209. The Sieve of Aristophanes, because that got really messy and it was
Should
hard
I
to
hide?
understand. No, please. It was just a
Because you
problem of
took the course with me.
no. It's not you. It was Andrew. I swear.
I know.
I think that was probably my worst 209 assignment, just because of the complications that came from it. But yeah.
And they're
I can say
time-consuming
real-
assignments too. So.
Yeah.
It was a fork bomb thing, right? So
Yeah.
so this assignment
can-
was littered with fork bombs. So it's
All I can say is 301 was my favorite project. So, it balances out, I guess.
Ooh. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to the core part of our podcast. So we have two parts. The first half will talk about the job search, and the second half will talk about something that isn't covered often in these kinds of topics, which is what to do once you're hired to make the most out of your job. So the first question that we have is, which positions should CS students typically be looking into? So imagine that these are first, second, third year students. What positions might they be eligible to apply for?
Well, I mean, given the level that you guys are taught at school, right? you guys could, like, to my opinion, you could start directly as software engineers one, right? That would be, like like a fair thing for you to enter. I know, like, some people may settle for less due to, like, life circumstances, but I would say do not give up, and do not sell yourself cheap. Because, like, all I see, like, I swear, like, all these years that I have been there, I just, like, see smart young men and women, like, who deserve really the best on the market. And to this day, I do not know stats, but to this day, I do believe that the majority of the positions in the software industry are held from people who have no formal education in either computer science or mathematics. They are held by people I've met in my life, self-made, self-taught programmers who have, who have a degree in philosophy, in geography, in history, in various kinds of engineering disciplines, but very few of them who actually have formal education in CS. So please do not sell yourself cheap. Like, you're way more knowledgeable than I would say 75%, like, just with a ballpark figure, from, more knowledgeable than 75% that people who actually do work in the industry. So don't sell yourself cheap. That's what I would like
So
to
if you
say.
see a job application with a long list of required skills, shouldn't be too scared by it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know the answer to this. You could say, I'm not an IT department, as a programmer. What you're listing there is a full IT department.
Yeah.
Just don't get scared from these. Like, the people who usually compile these, like human resources people, they are not the most technologically, like, knowledgeable people. They just use certain templates.
It ties well into the next question, though, which is, what are some useful skills that students should try to show in their side projects while they're applying for jobs and internships?
You need to work on something you're interested in. You shouldn't be... The one thing that I see that people in the server do is they work on something because they think it'll get them a job, not because they're interested in it. So you don't put 100% of your effort into it. Open source is definitely a good place to work as well, because you get your contributions publicly, and then companies can see what you actually did. They can see your one-line commit or your, entire new functionality added to the actual project.
Yeah, I think
That's good advice in side projects that you're interested in.
yeah, for sure, because if you're not interested in it, then you're not going to finish it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely you should love what you do. That's
And it's always good to explore different
I have
kind
a
of...
question.
No worries.
Go ahead, John.
It's good to explore different kinds of, especially in comp-sci. There's different programming languages. There's different types of projects you can work on. It's great to explore different areas in order to know what exactly you want to do.
I have a question from the chat, which is, what would you say is the biggest misconception about the industry that you see coming from undergraduate students? Assuming they talk about the CS industry.
so. Sorry, can you repeat the question? What's the biggest misconception
about the industry that you see coming from undergrad students?
Well, I mean, undergrad students certainly would think that industry is some sort of, it looks like, I don't know, like a huge castle, very well, like kind of like sheltered and defended and so on. But this is not true. I mean, all I can say is that you guys have, the requisite knowledge to basically overtake this castle. So, don't be impressed, just look at the code. When you go to the work and when you look at some people's code, then you're going to be very surprised. And those of you who have actually done internships, I see like Lukasz is, nodding, like, you know.
I've seen lots of interesting pieces of code in my time at my various positions. Probably written by an engineer instead of a computer science student.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another misconception is people leave and they kind of just expect to go into Apple, Google, the big tech companies. But unfortunately, it's a lot harder than you think, and you need to build up your knowledge to get there. Just because you graduate, kind of contrary, just because you graduate from CS doesn't mean you know everything. You need to build up your knowledge first, and then as time goes on, you can graduate to a higher and higher position instead of expecting right away to just be at the top.
You don't need to know everything to work at Google
Yeah,
or
but
at
you need to know
Microsoft,
more.
wherever. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
just have the audacity, you know, to gain the requisite knowledge. Yes.
yeah,
Look at what they want, right? Get the knowledge. I mean, you basically have the formation, right? If you have the formation, you can, you know, like, learn anything you want. Like, you have like solid foundation, so like you can build up on these foundations.
yeah.
But I mean, don't just like apply, obviously, like kind of blindly, right? Just, you know, like,
Yeah,
try to, you know, like when you apply, try to get the knowledge you need, fill in the gaps, right? Like, wait a few months, fill in the gaps, and then, you know, like, apply once you have, you know, kind of like a safe knowledge base that you could use in the interviews and impress people. I mean,
yeah.
always you should aim to impress, obviously, and they will give you the challenge. You should solve it. There is no reason why not. You've passed, you know, way harder challenges at University of Toronto, I'm sure.
I think another misconception you see peddled around on like social networks and like especially Reddit is that like, oh, the CS industry is so oversaturated. I guess that might be true for, if everyone is gunning for Fang, but I mean, software is becoming like an essential department in a lot of countries. Sorry, not countries, companies. So there's lots of jobs in it, especially in like companies that you think might not have a software engineering department. So yeah.
I mean, the civilization runs on software, so put it that way. It's the lifeblood of the whole civilization.
Oh, Orange is disconnecting.
No, I'm back. And those are some misconceptions. I hope that answered your question. And also that's really, really motivating, Professor Dema, that students shouldn't undervalue themselves when they're applying these positions. Kind of leads into the next question, which is when applying for PEY, for example, how many positions should you apply to? And like, is there a percentage? Is there a number?
It
I
really-
personally. Oh,
No,
Jonathan,
go ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
No, please. I insist.
Okay. It really depends on what exactly you're looking for, but my suggestion is apply everything that is applicable to you.
What do you think?
Worst case scenario is that you don't get the interview or the position itself, but it's better to apply so you have the chance rather than not applying and then losing out on an opportunity.
You're 100% right.
Yeah. I know for myself, before I really knew where I wanted to go for my PEY, I think in the end, I in total submitted at least 150 applications, but that was just shotgunning to every possible position because I still didn't know. And then as 369 progressed, I wanted to focus more on getting into AMD because it was systems, and that's what I started to become interested in. So then as the time progressed, it narrowed down. But yeah, like Jonathan said, you definitely need to apply to what you're interested in rather than what might be there, I would say.
But another thing too is that some students will try to apply for everything, even for things that are not even applicable.
Yeah.
Like let's say you're looking for a software development job, and all of a sudden you decide to apply for mechanical engineering jobs and all those positions.
Hey, I know someone that had an interview that did that, so don't discount that.
Yeah, don't discount that, but obviously look more towards things that are relevant to you rather than applying to the thousands of job posts that are on the PUI board.
Yeah.
So for my
Perhaps another reason for that is if you get called for
Oh, sorry. Do you want to?
if you get called for an interview for those if you get called for an interview for those positions, then it would be very time consuming if you had applied to positions you weren't interested in. Now you have to prepare for another interview. Yeah, time consuming. What are you saying, Jerry?
Yes. So for mine, I prioritized positions that I was interested in, like full stack primarily, and then I would also shotgun it to like anything, um, and then if I got an interview, sometimes I would take it just to get experience, but um, I'm not sure if there's like an ideal number, but I think generally most people apply to like around 100, give or take. I think that's a general consensus. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, probably
Okay, so everyone
100
listening,
or-
apply to at least 100.
I don't even think I applied to them.
Yes, you should.
Jonathan, you don't need to brag that you didn't apply.
I'm
to
not
100
trying to
companies.
brag.
We get it. You got the job.
That's not. Oh my gosh.
Oh, someone was asking, what are some of our side projects? Jerry, I know you have. I
Jerry's
think you have some
back
pretty good side projects.
We're all looking at Jerry right now.
Hmm.
I mean the one I'm most proud of, and it was from 301 last semester, is Collab Cloud. So that's on my portfolio. Some pictures of that. um, I have a bunch of like small hackathon stuff that was also really fun to do. So I also recommend hackathons because it's a nice way to like grind out a project, meet some cool people, learn some new stuff. And people, or I guess recruiters, don't exactly expect it to be, fully functional, 100% good. Like they understand the time constraints and the limitations. So yeah, I recommend hackathons and taking project courses like 301. That was like one of my favorite courses I've taken.
Thank you. Okay, so since like we are on this topic on 301, actually, you guys who like you've done or you are doing PUIs, like, are all of you willing to hold a guest talk on the next offering of CSC 301?
I would love to. One of
Sure,
my
yeah.
favorite courses.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so the first opportunity will be actually this fall into the CSC CO1 in Scarborough, because they call the 301 CO1, their system, their course system number. So maybe sometime, I don't know, like early November, I would say. Like, I don't know if something early November would work for you guys, like to prepare a guest talk.
Yeah, we can
Either all
discuss
three
this.
of you, or you can, like prepare individual talks and like hold them on different times.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
we can
Just,
discuss
to
this.
motivate students. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just like message me afterwards to organize it.
Sure. Let's not leak
Sure.
too much info.
Yeah.
But yeah, bouncing off of what Jerry said, my favorite and project I'm most proud of is from CSC 301, taught by Illr, memorable.xyz.
I knew you were
check
going
us
to do
out.
this.
Oh, I also did it with Jonathan. What a great front-end designer for that project as well.
Look, I was planning to mention it, but I didn't want to be the person to do it.
Well, I did it. I did it for us, Jonathan. Don't worry. I
mean,
learned.
both your projects and the collab cloud, I still remember them. So like it's.
There you go. But yeah, in 301, it definitely taught me a lot for learning or working with groups and large-scale projects, which was arguably one of the most valuable things for going into a job. Because typically when you do side projects, you do it yourself. And then you learn the the hard software skills, but you don't
Technical?
learn the technical. You learn the technical skills, but you don't learn the soft skills that come with actually working at a position.
I guess continuing our praise of 301. I actually it's been
Please.
super handy for my job because we're developing a React web application for our internal like data analysts, and before that I didn't really have much experience for Redux, but after doing Collab Cloud, especially with the help of my friend Furkan, shoutouts to Furkan, he was the technical lead. Yeah, but that pretty much prepared me really well for my PY, current PY.
That's very good to hear. That's good.
Hearing a lot of praise for the ones. If you're looking for a third year course and you haven't decided yet, it's like we will recommend that.
Yes.
Is there another project-based course, like maybe the 490 course or other capstone courses?
Project-based? I don't think. I mean, there is computer implementation projects. Your friends at the developer student club, they do actually take some of these projects. And people from UTM, SAM, University of Toronto, Mississauga, Society for Algorithmic Modeling, they also do some projects. There is also individual students who embark into projects according to their interests. Just as very well, some of you in the audience did a great project this summer with Professor Andrew, enriching the PCRS. So.
All right.
Yeah, but
We
these
have a
are
question.
the ones that I know. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
A good point
Actually,
about DSC, actually. We could take DSC.
Jerry?
oh, sorry, I thought Orange was going. Sorry. For UI UX, there's CSC 318, which I guess John, do you wanna offer your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for CSC 318, I can't remember what the course title was. It mainly focuses on designing for a purpose. So it is a project-based course where you're given some kind of prompt at the very beginning and then working on that project throughout the 3.5 months. But you do learn a lot about designing for a user-friendly site or app. You also get to, I don't know how to explain it in a way where, let's just put it like this. It's allows you to explore what user experience design is, as well as teaching you how to manage a group and work with a group to build out your project throughout that time frame.
There is also a DO1 at Scarborough, I think. That's also a project-based course. It is called Large-Scale Software Engineering.
I think that's called 302 at St. George as well.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. You're correct. Yeah.
Our question from the chat is, I know a lot of younger years without any projects. What's a good first project idea?
Web scraping. That's what I've been recommending. Web scraping and then do some data analysis on it. It exposes you to a bunch of things. It exposes you to Python tools more in depth than you would have before. And it definitely helps you learn about statistics potentially earlier than when you hit 256. You can learn how it's applied rather than learning the theory behind it first.
One thing that a lot of people also do is people like to make Discord bots. That's pretty easy to do. Like you can do it through Python or JavaScript.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
also another one that is a good idea is to like make your portfolio site a good exposure to web programming and all that, and then you can update it over time as you get better.
Whoa. Look
Well,
who
well,
decided
well.
to
There
join.
you made your own portfolio website, didn't you? Oh, hello, Chris.
Oh my goodness.
We have a new person. So Chris was actually supposed to join us from the start. Late, but that's all right.
Hi everyone. Sorry for being a little late. I was a little preoccupied, but I'm happy to join now.
Hey, Chris, good to see you.
Hi Lear, good to see you as well.
Chris, would you like to tell us
Introduce
a little bit
yourself.
about your industry experience?
Yeah. Flex
Yeah,
on.
sure. So, yeah, my name's Krish. I am currently on my PUI at the University of Toronto. I'm working at a company called Red Hat. We primarily work on open source stuff. My work is mostly focused on Kubernetes, where I contribute to upstream Kubernetes, and I work on some other products in kind of the Kubernetes ecosystem. In the past, I've worked at a couple other companies, mainly in consulting and automotive. And so I'd be happy about consulting and stuff if there's anybody from commerce or management in chat. How was that?
It was a great introduction.
Okay.
So we just finished the first half of the podcast, which is about finding the internship or finding the job. But now we're moving into, let's assume you have accepted your job offer and what comes next. So the first question I have for you all is, how can you make the most out of being an intern?
For me, it was don't expect them to just give you as much work as you want. Sometimes you need to push and say that you have the capacity to do more work, because otherwise you just kind of sit idly by waiting for them to tell you what to do.
Wise words from PUI nominee of the year.
Yeah. Listen, man, let's not bring that up. All right.
Very true.
Also, it's only nominee, so I didn't actually get anything.
You're a step further than the rest of us.
Yeah, come on. I'm finishing. You guys are just starting.
Oh, Chris, you're muted.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, one thing that I would say is like,
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
It's just
am
very
I?
delayed.
Hello? Okay. Yeah. I don't know why my Discord's kind of lagging. Yeah, one thing from my perspective is just to like kind of network. I think that's something really like that people don't value, and like when you're at a company, even if you don't like your job, just like which can happen, right? Like there's lots of things that can like go wrong in terms of like miscommunication. But even if you don't like your job, if you network, you can always like open up different opportunities if you want to return to that company in a potentially different role. So that's something that I would definitely try and do, right? Talk to other managers, talk to people on your team, try and get to know them. I think that can really, help your odds if you want to get like a return offer as well.
That's actually a great suggestion. Yes, that's very true.
How about Jerry and John? Did you do anything that you could recommend for others? Making the most out of your internships?
So I don't really have too much input on this because City kind of got shortened because of COVID-19. But and then I just started my new role, so it's a bit early. But okay, so as for City, I think just make the best of it. If you feel like you're not doing enough, uh, as Lucas said, try to ask for opportunities or like try to go the extra mile with your work to, demonstrate that you can handle it and you do want to do more work and learn. And then I guess something relevant for my new position is just work hard at it. My goal for this week was to like do a bunch of tickets more than I expected, and so I could ramp up my workload and demonstrate value and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jerry. I think it's important to like demonstrate that you're adding value to the company or to the product you're working on, especially as an intern, right? Because it's really easy to kind of like fall into the mindset of like, I'm just an intern, I can't like work on this stuff. But I mean, in computer science, I think as students, we're pretty much just as capable of working on like production ready stuff as like longtime engineers. Maybe not like architecting the entire solution, but like when it comes to taking on like bug fixes and user stories, I think people don't give themselves enough credit when it comes to working on stuff.
Exactly, like that's what I said before, Chris. You said it, like better than I said it before, basically. Because you joined us a bit late, so like, yeah, that's super great. Yeah.
And like for me, I just finished my internship today actually, and
Oh,
one thing or a couple things to make the most out of your internship is explore different areas that the company has to offer, take initiatives, and don't limit yourself to the opportunities just because of what your mindset and your skill set. Demonstrate that you're adding value and kind of go beyond what's expected or what your job role is. Like, for example, for me as a UX designer, there were times where I wasn't actually doing any user experience work. I was actually doing a little bit of front end development and some back end development as well. And that's not my job role, but I kind of went beyond that and yeah, just work hard at it.
Okay, so being willing to explore some things outside of your specific job description. Yeah, that's really good advice. However, what happens if students are stuck in an internship or a PEY position that they hate? What should they do next?
I'll openly
Lucas, you want to
say,
go first?
yeah, I was stuck in a bit of a rut where I was doing stuff I didn't like. And then actually one of the more senior devs on my team approached me and talked to me about moving on to something else. And then my manager heard about it and he moved me over very quickly. So the best thing I can say is if it's because of your work, um, the best thing to do is talk with your manager or your supervisor or whoever's in charge of you, I guess, and see what they can do to help you move to something you'd be more interested in. Because, they might have relegated you to something else because they thought maybe you would contribute there for a bit. And then turns out you did well. And then you stay there longer and longer. So you need to be sure to express want for change rather than just expecting it to happen.
Yeah, I think what Lucas said is really accurate. I feel like if you don't like the work you're doing, that's a relatively easy problem to try and like change. You just have to take some initiative. But in the bigger problem, at least like that I've experienced, is like if you don't like your team. Um, I've been in that scenario where I didn't really like uh, get along well with the team that I was on. Um, it's not that like we disliked each other. It was just that we didn't really have a strong like relationship, outside of work, which isn't bad. But um, like my strategy is like for trying to like enjoy my time at work more. We're just to like talk to people across the organization, right? Like you don't like, you stuck on one team in one organization. Everybody works at the same company, so people are usually pretty open to talk. And there's lots of usually like employee resource groups, depending on the size of the company. Those are also really great resources to meet other people.
What about you, John? Have you ever been in a time when you didn't like your internship?
I don't think so. I think all throughout my internship it was pretty positive. I think the only time that I had like a negative experience was when I have to deal with stakeholders and directors that were way above me, because ultimately when you're in a large company you have to go through so many people to get decisions made, and a lot of times you work very hard and they would just shut it down without even listening to you. And I think that was the most frustrating part. Not saying that the place I worked at had that reputation or anything. It's just an experience that I had to bear with throughout my time.
I mean, this is unfortunately true in some establishments. You have to go through the bureaucracy, like net basically, in order to like make yourself heard, and this is not always easy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you would need to insist a lot and like do like take extra steps. But in this aspect, networking that Chris did mention before could help. If you could kind of like make sensible the right person, like if you can kind of like sensitize the right person about your ideas, then you kind of like can probably break the wall of bureaucracy.
Okay, and earlier Jerry mentioned that you should be going above and beyond if you can in your internship. However, I had a question about that, which is you often hear about interns working overtime a lot. Is this expected? Is this something normal that you should be expecting to regularly put in extra hours? And if so, how many more hours should you expect to put in?
I can comment. Usually they won't ask interns to do overtime unless it is really needed or you have that particular skill set that they need for that that warrants working overtime. But usually asking an intern to do overtime is pretty frowned upon, in my opinion, at least from everything I've seen. I've been to interviews where they've explicitly said you'll never work overtime because that's not something that we believe is something an intern should be doing. But sometimes if it's needed, they'll definitely give you something back, be it a day off or paying you or whatever it is that they decide to do.
Yeah, so as Lucas said, you're never going to be expected to do overtime, and that's really just an optional thing. I know Kim does a lot of overtime. Remember, he actually had to be asked by his managers not to do it, right?
But don't we always think about like work-related things or search for solutions on our time, even when we sleep sometimes?
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if you work in software, I don't know. Like, it's simply not possible to disconnect your mind. Like it's not the kind of like hang your coat like at the end of your shift and you just go home.
Yeah.
It's you
Yeah.
kind of like take the problem with you. Like,
Yeah.
oftentimes,
I remember.
like my boss in my previous life in software engineering used to say, Ilir, sleep on this problem, till you have some kind of insight or something.
I remember
Yeah, if you're
very.
sleeping
It's
on
not
it, then
considered
you're
overtime,
sort
but
of putting in
this
overtime.
is
Yeah.
that's the nature of the beast. I mean,
Yeah. From my perspective, I think this is like a really tough question to answer because on one hand, like we can talk about how important it is to like really put in time and do good work at your internship. But on the other hand, I'm really hesitant to tell people to like give their all for an internship because like I think work should just be like one part of your life, right? I think balance is important to an extent, and like you shouldn't just like try and kill yourself working for like working like 60 hours for your internship or something, right? Um, and so like I would say, like in the time that you are working, make sure you're always doing good work, but like try and avoid overtime where you can. Like it's just not worth it, um,
Yeah. To extend upon what Illr said and then what you said, I remember very early on in my internship, I was playing a game with friends and I realized the solution to the problem I've been working on at work for the past 2 days. So I went from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. fixing it and then pushing it for no reason, even though I could have done it on Monday just because I found the solution there.
Well, that's what we take pride on, right? It's, like pride to solve the problem. That's just that. I'm sure, like Krish is right, and like there should be like a balance between work and life, but it is also like the satisfaction that we derive from, solving complex problems. So, yeah, there is that.
Okay, that's all really helpful advice. It seems like as much as you can avoid overtime, don't set that expectation because you need to have a work-life balance. So that's pretty good advice for students who are looking for internships now. Our other question is, in terms of getting a return offer, if students are interested in getting a return offer, do you have any tips for how they could do that?
Write bad code.
Actually, 200
So they
IQ.
can
Right code that only you understand.
Yeah, they have to hire you back.
Write unmaintainable code. So they will never let you go.
Use
Yeah.
zero design patterns and
There
external
you go.
libraries.
There you go.
I guess I have a serious answer to this. I think it's definitely important to show initiative within your internship, as we've reiterated throughout this podcast. Um, and you should have a good relationship with your manager. And yeah, in general, just do good work. I think as long as you're
Jerry,
not.
you summarized it very well before. You said add value, show that you can add value. So that's it. That's what you said before, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the other thing would be like it goes back to kind of the networking thing. Something that I really try and like tell students, something that I was talking about like yesterday was like if like who do you want to work with? Right? Do you want to work with the student who has like a 4.0 and like that's it, or do you want to work with somebody who is like really smart, does good work, and like you can also like talk to them outside of work? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, when a company gives you a return offer, if you're in like your third or fourth year, they're essentially inviting you to join their team like forever, right? And so in that capacity, like it's really important to like talk to your coworkers, right? Like it goes back to the networking thing, but I think like relationships are super important. And I would say like my coworkers in my past internships have been like my biggest proponents when it comes to getting a return offer, because you don't interact with your manager that much as compared to your other coworkers, just because you guys are often working together on projects and other stuff. So I would say like if you want to get a return offer, do good work, right? Like I don't think it's like too hard to get a return offer, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
Come in at 9, leave at 5, that type of thing.
Yeah. I think another thing is you need to show interest in the work you do and show interest in something beyond just the work you do. You need to show that you want to come back and you're interested in learning more about what it is that your team does. And again, show competency. You can't just write, unfortunately, you can't write unmaintainable code. That's bad, and expect them to bring you back very easily. Even if that's the advice I even got at one of my internships, but you need to show good work and show interest in what you do, rather than just.
Is that serious? Somebody really advised that?
I mean, he wanted me to come back, so he was saying, write something so that will forcefully bring you back.
Oh, okay. Oops.
That's fine.
Yeah, life is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, I'll have I always write bad code regardless. So
Yeah, when I try to write good code, it just kind of happens.
Yeah, but I had to deal with
Oh,
Chris's
practice what
code,
you learned
so...
from 207.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
so we're
have-
nearly at the end of our episode. I would just like you guys to conclude with coming up with a question for next week's guests to answer at the beginning, like how you answered the question at the beginning of this episode. So next week's, we have all girls episode, and Professor Sadia is joining us, as well as the UTM alumni Florence. Really excited about that, so please come up with a question for them.
What was your least favorite course to
My
teach, Sadia?
question to Sadia. My question to Sadia would be like, what is that you would hate about CSC 207?
Ooh, okay.
She's coordinating it next semester, so like,
This will be
Oh.
interesting to hear.
yeah.
How about the students?
What did you hate most about CSC 207?
Oh, that's true. They've all taken. No, there's one who hasn't taken 207. Should we replace it with CSC 148?
Something
For just
Saudi
that student.
something Saudi is taught. Specifically, comment on
Okay. All right, I made a note of that. We can send that next episode.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks for
Let's
joining
switch my
us,
mic.
everyone.
All right, and
Thank you.
last thing, just for
Last thing.
Oh, I guess one thing from my end, while we're just figuring out our mic, although it was a bit late, I'll be active in the job stuff, PUI, or side projects channel. If you guys have any questions, any further questions, feel free to ask them there, and I'll be replying. Or you can also ask in Discord. I'll try and reply there as well.
Before we
Or
end
in
off, there are
Twitch.
2 unanswered questions in the chat, if you guys don't mind going over. So this one
Sure.
is from Philofi. Was there a course or internship or job that you absolutely didn't like and taught you that you didn't want to work on a specific position or area of computer science?
256 kind of ruined my machine learning dreams. Stats 256. So that's my answer.
Machine learning is just glorified statistics, you know.
Exactly. That's why 256 that's why 256 scared me off from machine learning forever. Stats was too hard for me.
It is not an easy course.
Yeah. Stat 256 rip.
F. I don't know if there was really a course that I disliked enough to not want to go into a field. I think I only took courses that I was interested in. So I don't think I ever experienced that. I'm sure most people probably feel the same way. Except for 256, of course.
Well, I have a funny thing about statistics, you know, like just like many people do. Like I did hate my stats course at school as well when I was a student, right? So many years after that, probably 25 years after I took the course, I met my former professor, like at some point. And like he tells me very enthusiastically that he had saved the paper, because at the time we did, you know, paper handwritten exams. He had saved my solutions and he would reuse them from time to time, you know, into other exams. I said, what? I thought I have written my worst thing in stats because I didn't like the course, you know. Like, it came as a surprise. So you never know. Like,
Yeah, that's fair. Jonathan, I'm sure there's a course you've hated.
Which one?
I don't know. Something about systems.
Wait, which course is that?
Don't worry about it, Jonathan. If you can't remember, you don't
It's only
actually need it.
256, and I never took a systems course. Oh wait. Oh
209.
wait.
209.
I didn't have a problem with 209.
You just erased it from your memory.
Oh, okay.
I actually
What is
didn't. I
209?
don't think I had a problem with 209. There were some deadline issues that I faced, but it
Oh,
wasn't as bad as I thought. Or it's not bad enough for me to add it to a list of courses I would never want to take or never want to go into that field.
I think I know a course that you wouldn't want to take, though, actually. I just remembered it. CSC 343 downtown.
Okay.
That was
Well-
a nightmare.
The thing is that I took the course originally because I wanted to learn about databases. And although I did learn a lot from that course and I still use it from time to time when creating some sites and all that, how they taught the course and whoever taught the course, and I will not say the name, and half
had
of
the
us here
same
know who it is. It wasn't a great teaching experience. So that's kind of what made the course really bad. But overall, like, if you just read all the materials and everything, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 343, in fact, should be a must for these who would like to work in software engineering. I mean, it's hard to understand how you can actually do well without some sort of exposure to databases in one way or another. I mean, obviously, not everybody among us does teaching different courses, but the topic on its own, I mean, I think it's important for software engineers. I don't know.
Yeah. Like Michael said last week, it's important to have a good introduction to CSC 343.
Yeah, it's very important. He's absolutely right.
We are not able to hear you, Orange.
Yeah, I think we've lost your audio.
Okay, while she's fixing that, I'll give my answer. So, it's not so much that I hated the course, it's just I guess I have a complicated relationship with them. I had a pretty rough time in 209, so I was like, I'm never doing systems. And then I did really well in 369, so I don't know what to do. But I don't think I would go into systems, but yeah, I'm just conflicted about that. And then the second one is machine learning, because I took 321, and I did pretty well on the implementation, but not too great on the theory. So I'm not sure if machine learning is in the future for me, but yeah, I'm just very confused about those two fields. So
Jerry, you mentioned that there were 2 unanswered questions. Did we cover both of them?
oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. So this is from the Raghav Sharma. He says, Illr, I'm very excited to take CSC 236 with you. Any tips to do well in your class?
Solve as many problems as possible, number one, and number two, please use any opportunity you can, to talk to me or to the TAs. I mean, any kind of questions, really, please do ask. You have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. If you don't want to ask in public, please message me in private, whichever way, Discord, I don't know, I don't honestly care. As long as you bother to ask, I'd be happy to answer any time of day and night. Honestly, I mean, that's what I would like to advise everybody.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can
you have a
attest.
question, please do ask. Don't hold it, because it's not going to clarify itself. Rather, things are going to pile up. So, and I know there is always a stigma asking questions, because you don't want to ask questions, especially some people don't prefer to ask questions in front of their classmates, because they would think, well, ha ha ha, he doesn't know it. That's fine. Don't ask in the presence of anyone. Just message us in private, email us, I don't know, call us, do whatever you can to get our attention, and I will be very happy to answer. But don't stay behind one day, if you fall behind 1 week, please try like as soon as possible. Even you don't have time to attend the lecture, just call, say like, Illr, can you recap? What did you do? I did not show up on the lecture. I'm not going to say why you did not show up. I'm just going to answer, whatever you guys ask. So yeah.
Yeah, CSE 236 was one of my favorite second year courses, but it does build on the previous weeks a lot. So if you fall behind, it's important to ask questions to catch up. Seems like
Yeah,
we've gotten to all of the questions in the chat, which is good news. Next episode is next Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. So please tune in to that one as well. And thank you so much, Professor Dema, for joining us this time. And of course, to our student guests as well.
Thank you for having me. It was great being with you guys.
Thank you, Illr.
Thanks, Illr.
Thank you.
Thanks, Illr.
Thank you. Good night.